We're goner, guys. I need to put on a bandage.
If you don't understand the Escape from Tarkov medical system, then this is likely to happen to you.
I'm out. This is the end for me.
So let's take a look at the medical system and how you can use it to help you stay alive in Tarkov. So let's go ahead and take a look at the types of medical equipment you have available to you at the start of the game, how you need to use them, and more importantly, how to assign them to hotkeys so you can use them immediately without having to open up your inventory. So first up is going to be two types of bandage, the army bandage and the aseptic bandage. Now these are good for single use and they will stop 1 point of bleeding wound. The army bandage takes only 2 seconds for it to use and the aseptic bandage takes 4 seconds. So the army bandage is slightly more expensive, but again they're pretty throwaway items, so we combine them to our hotkeys and not worry about losing them. Stopping the bleeding is essential because while you're bleeding, all other body parts are bleeding health points as well and you will die. Next up we have the AI2, or otherwise known as Cheese, and this is purely for restoring health points to damaged body parts. It doesn't stop any bleeding and it won't fix any fractures. Then we have the Splint, which is good again for single use, and that will repair 1 fracture. So if you have a limb that has suffered a fracture and it's not completely black, you can use that Splint. It will allow you to walk at normal speed again and remove any pain tremor you might be getting from your fractured limb. Then we have the most important one, which is the painkiller. If you have black limbs, you fix them with a splint, or you've suffered broken legs and you really need to run away quickly, then dropping a painkiller immediately is going to give you that chance to try and get somewhere and sort yourself out with some other medical equipment. Finally, we have the IFAK, which is a slightly more expensive. You can buy them at the start of the game from Peacekeeper. They're $60, so they're not particularly throwaway for new players, so we're not going to concentrate too much on that initially, as we're going to be talking about binding these to hotkeys. The IFAK will restore health points and it will also stop bleeding as well, so it's kind of a bandage and an AI2 wrapped in one, and it's good for restoring up to 300 health points before it's spent. So let's take a look at how we would get set up to go out on a raid. We've got ourselves a nice gun, we've got some armour, we've got a rig, we've got our backpack, and what we want to do is make sure we carry the medical supplies that are going to give us the best chance to make it to the extraction point, get out with everything that we took in with us and everything we've picked up along the way. So we need to be thinking about blood loss, and we need to be thinking about pain, and we need to be thinking about fractures and also restoring health points. So I'm going to take out 2 bandages, 2 painkillers, 2 lumps of cheese and a couple of splints. And the splints can be important because if your leg's not black but it's fractured, you can save yourself using a painkiller by fixing the fracture. That will sort the pain out. I know it's low value stuff, but every little helps, so keep 1 set out in your inventory ready to use on your hotkeys, put the rest in your secure pouch. As you loot, you can replace the lower value medication stuff with your higher value items that you've looted. Now you're going to want to bind these to your hotkeys, so to do that just drag and drop onto the numbers at the bottom of the screen. So 4 I always use for stemming blood flow, 5 for restoring health points, 6 will fix a broken leg, and 7 can put you in heaven if you've got some morphine. So that's how I set up. I keep them the same every time so that I always press the right key when I need to press it, and you're not messing around thinking which key do I need to press. That's how I'd get set up. So now we can take a look at some older footage of each type of medication being used in anger. So here I am in the factory, and I'm about to encounter a scav. I get a shot off, but it's damaged me, and I think I need to regroup before I take him on again. So our priority is to get away and address the problem. It shows there that I've got pain and I've got blood loss, so just by pressing 4, my hotkey, I use my bandage and it stops the bleeding. While that's happened, I've been shot again. This time my mobility has been completely knackered by a fractured leg, so I can't run. So I press 7, That will take the painkiller immediately, which is going to give me the chance to get away somewhere and try and deal with the rest of my problems. So finish him off and we'll go and find somewhere safe. Now I've got myself into some cover, I can have a little lay down, see what's up with me, and I can try and sort it out with the rest of my meds. So I've got blood loss on my leg, so I'm going to use my spare bandage that I've got in my secure container, and then I can use the splint to fix the fracture. Luckily, my leg hasn't gone black, there's still 1 point out of 60 available, so if I heal it with my AI2, that will bring it back up to full health, and because I've fixed the fracture, I'm not going to need to use another painkiller when my painkiller wears off, because I'm not going to be any pain from it. So I'll still be able to have full mobility. What I want to try and do now is try and find some replacements for the supplies I've used. So I'm going to have a little look on the scav. Always check their pockets, because they quite often have useful items, painkillers, maybe they'll have a bandage or something in their items. Not on this occasion. I've got some crackers though in case I get hungry. So I'm just going to see if he's got anything in his tactical rig. Doesn't, so I'm going to be off on my search. And what's this we spy here? Lovely, another AI2. So I take that and I'm going to put that in my pocket so I can use it on a hotkey, drag it straight to number 4, and I'm going to start using that. So while I'm walking around, I'm aiming, I'm looking for things, I can loot, I can search, and I can just keep pressing 4, and that's going to keep restoring individual body parts until they're all back to as full as they're going to get. It won't restore a black arm, my arm's black, that's me finished with that now. But it is going to help me get everything else back up to full potential so I can take some more shots. Now, if you notice in the top left, there's a red box with a white cross on it. And that is indicating that I've got fresh wounds. Now, when you have fixed bleeding, for a little while after, maybe 2-3 minutes, you're going to have a fresh wound, and you need to be mindful that if you're sprinting around or you're running through bushes or trees, you're going to run the risk of opening up those wounds again. And because I've used all my bandages, I don't want that to happen, because I've got no other way of stopping the bleeding. So I'm going to need to take a little while just to take it easy, walk around, not try and jump off anything high, don't run through any bushes, don't sprint around like a lunatic, because if I open those wounds up, I'm not going to be able to stop the bleeding, and then I'm going to be in real trouble. So my mindset is going to be only sprint if my life depends on it. So I'm creeping around, and all of a sudden I've got to sprint because I come under fire from a scav. The wound is only a minor one, so I can press my hotkey 4 immediately, which fixes the wound. My leg's not broken, so I've got full mobility, so that leaves me able to continue on and shoot this bad boy in the face. I chose to run the risk of opening up a wound because it was better than getting shot in the head by the scav. So finally, we'll just take a little look at the more advanced types of medical equipment you're going to come across as you become more powerful, you level up your traders, and things you may find on the map. So first of all, we've got the car med kit. This is good for 220 health point restoration. It will stop bleeding and it will restore health points. Later on, I think when they bring in the toxic element, that will remove some level of toxication, but that's not in the game at the moment. Next up is the Salewa, which is my favourite. That's good for 400 health points of restoration. That will also stop the bleeding and that will restore health. Initially you need these for a therapist task, so keep those until you finish that task, and then they're really good to have. This brings us on to the Grizzly, which used to be the be-all and end-all of medication in Tarkov. It used to have 950 health points, but they've dumbed it down to 625, and I don't think, given that it's a 4-slot item, that it has the same value as it did. I don't tend to use them as much, but a Grizzly will fix bleeding, it will restore health points, and it will also fix fractures as well. So it is an excellent tool to have, but it does take up a lot of space and they're expensive, so it'll be down to you to decide whether you want to use up that amount of space and spend that amount of money on them. Finally, we have morphine, which again you need for a therapist task. So initially you don't want to use them, you want to keep them because you need 10 of those for a therapist task. Morphine will give you about 8 minutes of pain relief, whereas the standard painkillers only give you about 4. So you get a lot more time, but painkillers are so inexpensive. Using 2 of those is a lot cheaper than using 1 expensive morphine. So I tend to take out 2, maybe 3 painkillers instead of bothering with the morphine. There are some other types of medication you can find in the game. You can't buy them from traders unless you can get them from the fence. Things like Golden Star and Vaseline, they will remove different effects and will heal and stop bleeding, etc, etc. But I'm just going to focus on the things that you can get from the traders for now. So there you have it. That's a bit of a guide into the medical system, how it works, how you're going to be best off trying to use it. And I hope some of you have found it useful information. So that's me done for now, and I will catch you on the flip side. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you've got any questions, post them in the comments, and you can follow me on Twitch. So come and say hello sometime.